All right, let's bring you this story now from KwaZulu-Natal. Following the closure of a Durban mortuary, bodies are set to be piling up at the Phoenix morgue north of the city. Pathologists have complained about being overworked in unhealthy conditions as they try to get through a major backlog of autopsies. So to unpack the story further, we're joined now by our reporter Karinda Jagmohan, who is tracking the story. Karinda, it sounds like an appalling state of affairs there. What are you hearing about measures to try and resolve this?
Appalling indeed, Michelle. Over the last week, there have been images shared on social media to apparently taken inside this mortuary showing bodies being placed on the floor of the mortuary. Now, there have been media reports quoting some of the workers who are employed at this mortuary who spoke out anonymously that have complained about poor working conditions inside the mortuary, but as well as the fact that they cannot cope with the backlog that has occurred following the closure of the Gale Street mortuary in Durban in 2020. Now, Michelle, that mortuary was closed because of a similar situation, poor infrastructure, and the fact that the building itself was not equipped to handle the kind of procedures that were happening there, and of course complaints about poor infrastructure. But now we're seeing similar issues here. We understand that this mortuary has the capacity to hold at least 500 bodies, but this has been piling up over the past year because of the closure of that Durban mortuary. My colleague Lungelo Zungu just showing you some of the building, and as he does so, Michelle, I'll remind you that according to people that we have spoken to, it would usually take a day to perform 2 autopsies. This is the general amount of work to be done in a day to perform 2 autopsies. But because of the backlog, now workers are seeing themselves perform at least 5 to 6 autopsies per day. This is overworking them, and of course has an impact on their mental health as well. They say it's also traumatizing to deal with families who are asking questions about the remains of their loved ones and the completion of post-mortem operations and the results of which that need to be taken to families. So it's a major issue here. This is now following the closure of the Gale Street mortuary, the only mortuary that is available for the larger Durban area, meaning bodies that were taken from around the Durban area will come to this mortuary for the relative autopsies, and workers, according to media reports, are just battling with what's happening inside. We understand that at this point the Department of Health has not actually spoken about, especially the recent media reports emanating from what's happening here. There has been no Department of Health response from a recent media report, as well as Newzroom Afrika reaching out to them. They've not yet actually spoken out about what they're doing to alleviate some of the issues that workers are facing here. But there have been workers' unions that have been speaking out as well. Over the next hour, we will be speaking to PAUSA, which has members under its wing working here, so they'll perhaps be able to shed more light on what workers are experiencing, especially in the state that they're working in, where bodies are piling up around them and they're left with having to race against the clock to complete as many autopsies as they can. There's also issues of having to reuse PPE, drain leakages as well. Essentially, workers inside this mortuary saying they're working in a very terrible condition, and it has quite an impact on their mental health as well, Michelle.
One can just imagine the impact on the families who have lost loved ones as well. Karinda Jagmohan, thanks very much indeed for that update.